Thy drugs act quick. Thus with a kiss. I die.
Ay, what a night! I see poison hath been your timeless end. Out, Cheryl.
Do you know why we're here?
Welcome again, Rudy Landers, for another upbeat, goofy, and silly episode. Today we watch a movie about vengeful retribution. What did we see? Munich, starring Eric Bana, and quite possibly the worst Israeli or German accent I've ever heard in my life.
Who kills the targets?
Daniel Craig, pretty good South African one, though. What do you think about Munich?
I've seen this once before when it came out on DVD in 2006. My original impressions as a young man thought it was pretty boring, and I completely forgot everything. Upon revisiting it, as we've spoken many times before, seeing movies with a new set of eyes, I thought it was extremely good. I think that this is probably Spielberg's most underrated film. I would even probably put it in my top 5 best films he's ever made. It affected me way more than I thought it would, because I think in the 15 years since this has come out, post-Afghanistan, post-Iraq, all of these things that have happened since then, which are still happening, it did affect me. It hit me in a different way than I thought it would. I didn't really remember anything about this movie. I was really shocked. I liked it a lot. I think it's a fantastic film. How do you feel about it?
Well, talk about one of the themes of the film, the other side of the coin. I saw this movie too when it came out on DVD, and I loved it. I thought it was incredible. Rewatching it now, thought it was kind of boring. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. Everything worked. Really came together in the end a lot more than I thought it would. But around the hour and 45-minute mark, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to end.
Wow, so you were checking your watch the whole time, huh?
No, I was into it until about the hour and a half mark. Like when they kill a woman for undisclosed reasons. I think after that, it starts to become, all right, I'm ready for this to be over. But it's fine. It could have been shorter, in my opinion. His relationship with his wife and daughter, I don't care. I'm sure there's another 1 or 2 scenes that I'm missing where I'm like, okay, we really don't have time for this and don't need it in here. It's, if you got 2 hours and 45 minutes to kill and you want to watch a well-crafted movie that just works, then yeah.
I'll be honest, I completely disagree with cutting of the scenes. There's maybe 2 scenes towards the end of the movie that I think could have gone, but to me, the importance of this movie is establishing everything, bringing you into the world, the whole setting, just the costume designs, the set design, all of the actors to me feel at home.
Yeah, I'll grant you that, but do you agree or disagree that Eric Bana's accent is terrible?
If you tell anybody about this, I don't know.
I completely disagree. I loved him in this movie. I thought he was fantastic. I never thought once about his accent. Actually, that was one of the things I looked up him and I was like, oh, wow, he's Australian.
G'day. Welcome to Account Affairs. I'm Peter. How's it going? Sweet, mate.
I thought he sounded great and he was fantastic. And that's one thing that I really want to bring up is the casting director just did an incredible job. All of the extras in this movie, the side characters, it's impeccably cast, and the performances to me across the board are just unbelievable.
Yeah, I enjoyed the acting. I thought he was good, except for specifically his accent. In the beginning, he'd be in a meeting with, like, actual Israelis, or at least people could do an actual Israeli accent. What's he trying to do?
We want to ask you, will you undertake a mission? An important mission.
So this isn't about guarding tourists on Nile jets.
This eroded as the movie went on, but my biggest problem was sort of, I'm not sure if I'm using this word right, but the sort of jingoistic propaganda feel of everything. Like,
Oof, wow.
the hostage crisis is going on. We go to Tel Aviv or wherever, we see old Jewish people around the TV crying, sobbing. We go to, like, I don't know, Yemen or Palestine. We see the Arabs barking at the TV like mad dogs. It gets better as it goes on. Ciarán Hinds' character, this is why I brought up before the Battle of Algeria. You're seeing both sides of the coin, but this one, it starts out skewed way in the other direction.
I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with it. And actually, as I was watching the movie, it made me think about you have extreme disdain for Ben Affleck. It made me think about Argo, which to me completely is jinx, which has everyone who is not an English speaker, non-subtitled, and just screaming like a mad dog, so you don't really understand what they're saying at all, like in the airport scene, because it's not trying to show any other side.
No. This is how the movie started out for me. Like, I think she's the prime minister, the old Jewish woman. She says, "We have laws, we represent civilization. This will be the only thing I'll say about it. In the face of an unrelenting struggle, the Israeli government has made many very questionable decisions." So that's why I started seeing the movie like that as soon as she said that.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reality of it, and my interpretation of the film, is that there's hypocrisy on both sides.
Yeah.
This is a movie that is condemning revenge and retaliation, and that it never works.
It's funny you brought up Bin Laden. This movie made me think about it too, and I've always thought this, and I know I'm going to get shit about it.
No, I thought about it constantly.
I think it's kind of fucked up that the United States government just sends a team and they assassinate him. They bring it up in this movie later on, which is where I started to come around a little bit more in the movie's favor. I think it's just fucked up they went there, killed him. We're a nation of laws. Is he a combatant or is he a terrorist? You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't our objective have been to bring him in and let him stand trial? But that may be infeasible.
Like I said, this brought up moments of the last 15 years for me because, not to go on a tangent here, but I remember very distinctly when I got the news of bin Laden being killed because I was watching a baseball game.
I think I was too. It was the World Series, I believe.
Yeah, Joe Buck was announcing, and I'll never forget his voice, saying that bin Laden had been killed, and cutting to the audience and everyone kind of looking at their phones. And in that moment,
I don't think you can say everything was worth it. It's why I brought up the Battle of Algiers earlier. In that film, it's sort of a similar plot. We're following the rebels and we're following the French army, I think. I don't want to say it doesn't point blame at anybody or it doesn't over sympathize with either side. It just gives you a sort of rundown of here's what the rebels did. Here's what the French did in retaliation. Here's what the rebels did. Here's what the French did in retaliation. That's where I started to come around in this movie. It gave it a more nuanced look. Before that happened, I believe the first time Ciarán Hinds, he's questioning the mission 30, 40 minutes in, and it was the first time where anybody takes a second to say, hey, they just told you these names. They didn't show you any evidence. Because before that point, I thought it was just going to be 2 hours and 45 minutes of Spielberg sentimentality crap. You know what I mean? Like, no real point, just a good or decent story told by a good to great storyteller.
I agree. I think there's a lot of emotion in the film. The whole concept of revenge being bad and retaliation being bad, that might seem trite when you look at it at a base level. But I think it's something that really have to look at the grand scheme of things, of just life.
This is based on a true story. Just look at what really happened. Right. The Arabs attacked, Israelis retaliated, Arabs retaliated, so on and so forth.
You know, as long as human beings exist, we're going to keep killing each other. I know that may seem like a very pessimistic way of viewing life, but it's a reality and it's painful. It really made me sit back and think just about life. It's powerful because, as I brought up with Osama bin Laden, when he was killed, I felt joy. But in the years since, I just go, the Taliban and ISIS and everything, it all exists. There's another person just stepping right into the footsteps. You know, was anything really accomplished? when Saddam Hussein was hung. Has anything really truly changed? Yes, one dictator's dead, another will rise. I mean, this has been going on since the existence of time. You know, people have been trying to conquer the world and enslaving people. It's life. And this whole thing happened in the 72. It's not that long ago. And reflecting on this now and how things stay the same, it's painful, but it's important to think about this thing. And that's why I give Spielberg credit. He does make you think about these things. I think the film is aging extremely well. I think the way it's made, especially the subject matter, it's just a kind of timeless thing where people are just going to keep doing this. Another thing I want to bring up is I'm a very harsh critic of Spielberg's cinematographer, Janusz Kaminski. I've spoken before about overlit movies that are blown out and oversaturated. He's kind of one of those guys where things are just blown out. I thought the cinematography in this was great. I was really impressed. He wasn't even nominated for Best Cinematography, and I think that was kind of unjust. I thought the movie really looked good, and it had this documentary, free-flowing camera work to it that I really liked.
I liked that aspect of the cinematography. We're trying to make it feel like it's not a fictional movie. There was a scene, at least one, where I noticed where it was just oversaturated. Do you remember? I can't remember where it takes place, but Jeffrey Rush is meeting with Eric Bana. He stands up and the sun reflects off his glasses. I was blinded for a full 3 seconds.
That's kind of Kaminski's thing.
Yeah.
And that can be frustrating for people who are cinematography snobs, but I really do think he did a great job. And I watched this on DVD. That's my big regret. I wish I could have saw this on Blu-ray and best picture quality possible, because I was really immersed in the film. Another thing I want to bring up is John Williams' score. I really liked it. I thought kind of the beginning with kind of the more Middle Eastern music was really well implemented, and just the score for certain scenes that involve tension that we'll get into later.
I thought it was good. The opening Arabic song, it reminded me of, it wasn't a bad song, but it was too similar to the kind of music they play in all these movies that take place in any Arabic world. Anyways, other than that, the score was fine. It worked. Didn't blow me away, didn't really knock my socks off, but I thought it was good. Some parts it felt a little cliched, like during the intense action moments, you hear the heartbeat rhythm going on. It was fine.
Yeah, that all worked for me. I was just locked into the movie.
Yeah.
And I will say, in terms of the violence in the film, the practical effects are incredible. When people get killed in this movie, it is so brutal. Really, really well done. And Spielberg, he has not made many R-rated films, but when he does, I mean, he goes for it. He really does. The only thing makeup-wise that didn't work for me was there's a scene where Eric Bana has just had sex with his pregnant wife, and you see her belly, and I was like, oh, okay, this clearly looks like a fake prosthetic belly, even on a DVD. I don't know if that stuck out.
It did as well. They could have just, I mean, he was banging her, but they could have put the sheets over top of them or something, you know what I mean?
It was clearly a choice on his part. He wanted her belly to be exposed.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch any special features on this because the DVD I had didn't have any. It only had
the main feature.
It did have a director introduction, which I did want to bring up. Kathleen Kennedy, which I know nowadays no one likes to talk about her, but she's a longtime collaborator with Spielberg in terms of finding projects. She brought this project to Spielberg based on a book called Vengeance by George Jonas. And he spoke in the introduction that the book has been criticized by certain people. It's never been completely denounced, but that was in 2005. But I have read a few things that say they don't show certain things in this movie. From what I've been told, the book is a pretty accurate representation of a lot of the covert.
Who has a problem with it then? Israeli types?
Both sides.
Okay.
There was a couple Mossad people who kind of criticized it, and obviously the Israeli government, which of course they're going to criticize whatever is said in the book. Even the author said that. But this book came out in, I believe, 83 or 84. Spielberg kind of talked about how it's never gone out of print. It's an extremely interesting story. I think this is a movie that people have forgotten about, that they don't talk about, and it's more timely than ever. Didn't do well. It had a $75 million budget, and it only made about $131 million worldwide. This, to me, really is kind of a completely forgotten film of his. Is there anything else you want to bring up about it before spoilers?
Is it as good or better than AI?
I've never seen AI.
No, I don't really have much to say. I mean, it was fine. It's good if you need to kill 2 hours and 45 minutes, but unless you're a big Spielberg fan or a big terrorism or war kind of movie fan, I don't think you're going to enjoy your 2 hour and 45 minutes.
I do want to say without the credits, it's 2 hours and 36 minutes. So,
Oh boy, 8 minutes. I
but
can make me a whole pot pie in that time.
I didn't feel the runtime this time. I think as an American, it affected me. It made me think about a lot of things. I really enjoyed it. It's easily one of his best films. It's a massive recommendation for me. You need to be in the right mind frame, but I do think it's an important film to watch. Kind of wanted to get into the breakdown of just the kills. The very first kill, when the Mossad group has formed and they go to kill the guy who's
Translating 1001 Arabian Nights into Italian.
I really loved that scene where they follow him and you have that great shot of the elevator coming down and he's bought his groceries. They've never killed anyone before, it's clear.
I did like that scene. I like the apprehension. I enjoyed most of the killing scenes, the sort of war scenes, like at the end when they try to kill Salamea, something like that, and it all goes to shit. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's bullets flying all around them. They have to escape. I liked all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked that first kill scene because when they say to him, "What's your name?" and he replies it, and Eric Bana is still saying, "What's your name?" and the guy's even telling him,
he already bloody said
right,
it.
He already confirmed it. When the guy next to him first fires off, and then Eric Bana just like unloads his clip. They shoot him 8 times. The way the practical effects go off with the milk and the blood combining, and just the shot of him on the floor, and then when Syrian hides.
When Syrian comes in to collect the shells, he picks it up out of his milk, but as he picks it up out of his milk, the blood is surpassing the milk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a fantastic shot. Great scene, and I would definitely echo the violent scenes in this movie are really fantastic, especially when they cut back to what happens at the Olympic area, and when we see how these guys were killed in the rooms. One of the guys comes back and he kills one of the terrorists, and then he just gets blown away. Just the way all of that was filmed. The 11 Jews.
I thought it looked great. I thought it was nice that we knew what happened, but I would have rather had seen it all at the beginning, and then just we're done with it. We know what happened. Because at one point he's like banging his wife and he's seeing things that he couldn't have seen. Yeah, he could be imagining what happened, but...
Right, that's at the very end.
I would have liked it if it was just give us everything that happened. Now we're getting into the revenge portion. It's not, feel sorry for them. They've been dead for 3 months or whatever, you know?
I actually like the way at the very beginning of the movie, you don't see anybody really get killed, but you just know off camera they say, they've all been killed. There's kind of a mixed messaging with the media.
Or you know about it and Munich, 1970, a bunch of Arab guys hopping the fence. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen.
I really like the setup of everything. Even when they're telling Mossad agents, you're going to kill 11 men one by one, have unlimited funds. Just a real brutality to the violence. Makes you think, especially once we get to the scene where they first use a bomb in the phone. I had forgotten this whole movie. So when the little girl wearing red, just like the little girl in Schindler's List, goes to the phone and was like, oh my God, did they actually kill the girl? I couldn't remember the movie, and it was so tension fueled. I had a knot in my fucking stomach. I thought that scene was so...
It was executed well, but I thought that was a possibility. I more so thought that it's just going to be a close call. It's going to be a sort of just a standard tense action scene where she's definitely going to be alive, but they're still going to blow up the guy.
I felt genuine danger for the girl. I thought that this was going to be a mistake. And actually, after researching, there was a case that is not brought up in the film that they did kill an innocent person. I believe might have been in Greece, where there was a man with his wife, pregnant wife actually, and he was actually just a waiter, and they had killed him. Street police, I believe, had found the plates and
traced it back to Israel or whatever.
But I'd bring up the bed spring bomb. That was a really interesting scene, and I think when Syrian says to the bomb maker, who was really a bomb disposal guy, he says to him, "Oh, is this going to be safe enough for him to be in the other room?" And he taps on the wall, and it's clear that they're basic paper mache walls when the bomb goes off. I really love that scene of Eric Bana, the tension and the score of the scene of him just staring at the lamp about to turn it off.
Yeah.
I really liked that. That was another really great scene. Really loved the raid, the 3 targets in Beirut.
So you brought up earlier, I was going to bring that up too. They killed an innocent person there, and they showed it in the movie. One of the guys is shooting through the door, and his wife is standing right next to him.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of innocent bystanders, and even if you look at the history of both sides, when I was brought up before about that guy getting killed, and even Salami in
Even what?
his actual what?
What's his name?
Salami. His name is Salami, dude. That's how they pronounce it.
I know. It's just, I forgot that, and you said it. I'm like, wait, is there a dude named Salami in this movie?
Yeah, he's the main guy who was the architect of the attack in Munich.
Yes.
But, supposedly.
He wore cool shades.
But when he was actually killed, I believe 3 innocent people were killed and 16 people were injured. All of his bodyguards were killed.
Yeah. At the end, it's just a title card. Salome wasn't killed until 1983 or whatever.
1979, I believe. But
That was close.
when Eric Bana has sex with his wife at the end, they're basically showing footage of fictional account of Salami dying.
Oh, he was involved in another terrorist attack or something? I thought he was just imagining the original Munich attack.
No, the helicopters on the airport field, that had nothing to do with
Oh, okay. See, that's why I was so confused. I think I brought it up earlier. He's banging his wife. I'm like, assassinate this fucking sociopath. He's just imagining terrorism as he's banging the love of his life. Which apparently he wasn't. It was another attack perpetrated by either Salome or Salami. I'm not sure yet.
I'm pretty sure it's Salami. They said that in the movie, which is funny.
Meanwhile,
At the incursion of Beirut.
I really like that raid sequence that all these guys are basically dressing up in drag with their silencers and going in there. That was really cool, and that was true.
I like there was no build up. It just kind of,
Just happened.
hey, we want in on this job. It just happens.
Cool thing about that, which I actually looked up, is that one of the guys who was in that raid who wore drag, he became like some type of government official of like Israel later on in life.
Is he Bibi Netanyahu?
That was really interesting. Very well filmed action, just brutal. And what I really like about the silencers in this movie, most films
You get that stock sound, yeah.
and silencers really don't sound like that. The main sound that everyone thinks a silencer sounds like is actually totally fictionalized. In this movie, it has a very different sound, and I really liked the way the silencers are in this movie. What the fuck?
The sort of just mechanical sound of a trigger striking the hammer and the hammer striking the cartridge.
I want to get into the French.
The guy from Quantum of Solace.
Right. Well, I liked him a lot, who was his kind of liaison or whatever you want to call.
His connection. His French connection, which I'm going to bring up again shortly.
But I really loved the actor who played his father, who like owns that home.
Speaking of the French connection, and Ronan.
Right. He was fantastic in this film. And there's a line that he says in the kitchen when they're, I think they might have prawns or something in the sink. He holds Eric Bana's hands and he says,
too big for a good cook. That was my problem too. I'd been a master, but I have thick, stupid butcher's hands just like yours.
and I thought that was a really great scene and a great line because of the implication of everything.
The whole purpose of buying the boat in the first place was to get the ladies nice and tipsy topside so we can take them to a nice, comfortable place below deck and, they can't refuse because of the implication.
It was really great. I thought he was fantastic. And he also has another line as Eric Bana is about to leave when he says, "You could have been my son, but you're not. Remember that. We'll do business, but you aren't my family." They had talked earlier about family and how, you have to do things
A scene that I did not enjoy. He's having an argument with his son, and he says, essentially, to Eric Bana, but really saying it to his son, he wasn't a good father because he had to do what he had to do for his family. And he looks at Eric Bana. Oh, Eric Bana's dad was in prison for fighting for the nation of Israel. He was really a good dad, even though he wasn't there for you.
Right.
It just was too cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these things work for me, I'll be honest.
For me, that's one of my problems with Spielberg, and to an even more extent, Roland Emmerich, is that these things, they're going to be guaranteed. Heart-tugging, violin playing, it's like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I agree with you in terms of Spielberg can be saccharine, but to me, I just don't think you've watched a lot of recent Spielberg movies, man, because
I have not. The last one I saw, which was the last one probably before this, actually, I saw that movie about video games, but before that, it was
right.
that spy movie that I hated,
Oh, Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies.
I think if you'd seen The Post, I don't even want to go on a rant because I'm giving Spielberg his flowers here. The past few years and just the films that he's made, I think all of the criticisms of Spielberg apply. To me, I don't feel that way with this film. I think all that bullshit that people criticize Spielberg, I don't see it here. I think this is great. But
Speaking about scenes I would have also cut, do you recall the scene where they are at a safe house in Athens and another espionage spycraft team shows up?
yes.
Except for the talk between the Arab guy and Eric Bana, I wanted to throw my TV screen out the window. They have this little bit where Daniel Craig changes the radio station. One of the Arab guys changes it to something Arab. Then they change it to, I think, Marvin Gaye or something. And then, oh, we're all friends now. It drove me nuts.
See, I liked all those scenes. The scenes that, to me, a lesser film would cut out. I think they really build atmosphere and they create this world and they make you care about these characters. It just really worked for all these scenes. It didn't bother me except for a couple scenes towards the end. I also want to bring up the Athens shootout where they have those white phosphorus grenades. The bomb that he tries to make doesn't work. And that older guy goes in there. The guy follows him up the stairs and he throws the grenade in. And the guys
That didn't seem overly cheesy or anything to you?
no,
Okay.
it didn't. I didn't find it cheesy. I liked that the bomb didn't work. I mean, it is a little the coincidence of them both being in the same safe house with the guys who are also there. It's a bit of a stretch. I did like that conversation between Eric Bana and the
Arab guy. Yeah, I brought that up earlier. The things that I enjoyed from this movie were the whataboutisms, the other side of the coin analogies.
well, both sides.
Yeah.
For me, I think he did give it up, both sides of the coin.
Yeah, he did. He did.
So when that character does get killed brutally by Syrian Hines in the car, even just the way he falls, like he gets shot like 4 times, the way he just gets so still and then he just falls to his knees. And the death in this movie, the beginning when revenge is kind of starting, just all the kills, there's a humanity to them. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put down this savage dog, this mustache twirling villain.
Yeah, we meet the guy with the daughter. He's a nice guy. He agrees to be interviewed by them. Do they talk to the 1001 Arab Nights guy, or they just blast that fool?
They talk to him basically before they kill him. What's your name?
Do you know why we're here? But all the other ones, especially like you're saying, all the other ones, you meet them. They're not mad dogs. They're just, nice old Arab guy, especially the one at the hotel with the exploding bed.
Yeah, the exploding bed one is great because he has this conversation with a man he's about to kill, kind of talking casually, oh, where you're from. I thought you were from Sweden. And he's joking with him about, oh, you won't be able to sleep. These two, they fuck all night,
Yeah.
And there's a humanity to that. Just Eric Bana's his body language. He's very kind of standoffish. This guy's trying to have a conversation with him, and Eric Bana's
He
just
turns away as soon as he steps out onto the balcony.
I really like that. And that just goes to like what I said before, the casting director. These people who only have maybe a few lines, they really maximize them. As far as my criticisms, I really like Daniel Craig. I wish he had more to do in the movie.
He had a great South African accent, if I didn't say that earlier.
You did.
Well, that's the job, right? We're here to kill the guy who planned Munich. Am I right?
And I think that was kind of the point, that he didn't have more to do, because Daniel Craig says, why don't you guys give me a gun? Why don't you let me shoot somebody? And Syrian Hines, he was really good at it. I've always been a big fan of him. I know you
Yeah,
like
me
him.
too. He's always good.
He's very good. And I did really like an exchange that him and Syrian Hines have when they're all kind of having dinner together. Tells him, pull down this guy's pants and see if he's circumcised. I think we have a double agent in our midst. That was a nice line. And they kind of have an argument. I also really liked the girl at the bar scene, who is the KG.
The honey trap.
Yeah, the KGB assassin. Her and Eric Bana are talking and says, I like your perfume. She rubs her wrist on his and she says, cuts through the smoke. I thought that was a really beautiful scene. I forgot that she was a killer. When I was watching that, I was like, oh yeah, that would be a scene that I could easily see someone saying you should cut. But
here was my problem. I remembered that she was a killer.
Okay.
Because the scene where they exact their revenge on her is very memorable.
It is. It's very good. I like the whole perfume thing. I like that when Eric Bana goes to his room later, he smells the perfume and he's like, oh, you son of a bitch, you talked to me first. Then you see just Syrian Hines naked on the bed. He's been killed and it's
gunshot wound in the back of his head or something.
Yeah. At that point in the film, things had pretty much worked out for these Mossad guys. None of the people on their team have gotten killed. Yes, certain things haven't worked out completely. When they bomb that guy, they don't kill him immediately. He dies of his wounds later on. This is when things change.
When the gloves come off.
Right. When everything changes, because I think as an audience member, you could watch this and go, oh yeah, they're going after these Palestinians. They're fucking killing them. They deserve it. Then things really start to change and you see retaliation.
See, people see it like that. I saw it as, oh shit, now they're really going to have no morality or no question about what they're doing.
It's like you said, gloves off. And that's when things really start going wrong. And the sloppiness happens.
Somebody is on their trail now.
And they're being hunted. A couple of the deaths of the Mossad agents felt a little unsatisfying, especially the older guy who's dead on the bench. I like the scene, but it feels like, okay, we got to wrap this up. You know, it's like he's talking to them. He's upset after he killed KGB agent. He shoots her in the head with this like pipe gun. Eric Bana goes to close her robe and he says no. And he rips it open. So that when she's discovered, she can be seen that way. Like, you know, she died like an animal. She deserved this. And you can clearly see he has immense regret over this. And he speaks about it. That's a brutal scene. And it's one of those moments that really makes you sit back and think, because while this person is an assassin and killer,
you're supposed to be identifying with them, at least in the slightest.
Right. And her death scene is just so brutal. It's just, you know, she gets shot a couple times and then she's walking.
She grabs a cat briefly. Here's why it's so brutal. I remember it exactly because, like I said, it was really the only scene that aside from the pregnant fucking, really the only scene I remembered from seeing it so long ago. They pop her a couple times with these like weird makeshift guns. She's not breathing. She's holding her breath, walks to the cat, walks towards the door, sits down, lets out a breath. Since they hit her in like her lungs or whatever, all of a sudden all the blood starts popping out. Then the old man comes in and pops her one in the head.
Brutal death, and she even tries to get her way out of it, taking blouse off.
That's her job.
I wanted to talk to you about
Mormonism.
No, the bomb maker dying.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he killed himself?
Now that you bring that up, that's a good possibility. But at the time, I thought that the Israelis didn't trust him now because he had his moral questions. He couldn't go through with the assassination of the Dutch girl. But it could have just easily been the other side, or it could have just as easily been he killed himself because he was so traumatized by what he had done.
And they even bring up that bomb makers sometimes die from mistakes and all that, but it was
a part of his own toy. Somebody would have to set that up knowing what his... Yeah, I think he killed himself.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel it, because he was alone, just kind of working, and it would have been a super instantaneous death. That I thought was really interesting, and that's when really all of the paranoia starts coming in. Started reminding me of Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation. If you've ever seen that with Gene Hackman.
I have, but it's been a little bit of time. He hallucinates some things. Yeah, I remember.
Eric Bana started ripping up his mattress, and he's checking the phone. He thinks everybody's out to get him, and then he's getting killed because he goes into the closet to sleep. It's a specific callback to the guy that they kill with the mattress.
Hotel, yeah.
Syrian Hines brings up about a guy who would only sleep in his closet because of these kind of bed bombs. I really like that shot of Eric Bana just looking through the closet. It's clear that everything's crumbling. Everything's coming down. And even at the dinner table scene, he brings up, I used to feel something, when we first killed these people, but we're just going to keep doing it. We're just going to keep killing more.
We're going to do it for as long as it takes. We're going to win.
We're going to win. Yeah, which is really powerful because nobody's going to win. It's not going to happen. Until the human race is gone, this is just going to keep going on.
I have only one more criticism I want to bring up, and then I think that covers just about everything I have to say. The theme of this movie, would you say, is home? Aside from revenge, obviously, but it's reminiscent of the Star Wars movies or the Fast and Furious movies, where if you just say family enough times, suddenly it's a theme of your movie.
The thing is that a lot of films have all these themes of family and home and things like that, but I think on a surface level, you can just criticize the movie and say, oh, that's generic. And the way that this presents it, it's very different than Fast and the Furious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely got more depth. It's definitely more than that. Yeah.
No one's holding up a Corona and saying family.
But that's just what I thought of. On like the third or fourth time I heard someone say home, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, I mean, that ties into the whole Palestinians and Israelis and that conversation.
Yeah, Israelis, it's their home. Palestinians, it was once their home.
That's very important, and that's a part of why this will keep going on forever. The main criticism that I have towards the end of the movie is I think we've driven home the paranoia. The scene where he's walking in New York, Eric Bana, he's got his kid and the car's following him. He gets on the phone with the French guy. He goes to the embassy and he's threatening. All of that, I agree 1000%. You don't need it. You can cut that out. We already have established all of this, and it is unnecessary. I will grant those 3 scenes, which are all in a row. They are all in a row together. That completely could have been cut out. The last thing I want to talk about is just the ending of the movie. This hit me as well. Final shot, Jeffrey Rush and Eric Bana talking. They're bringing up home, come and break bread with me. Jeffrey Rush just looking at him and saying no. That hit me. And then the shot of the Twin Towers.
I didn't even notice that, honestly.
Oh, yeah. It's very powerful. The whole time you see the Twin Towers in the background during the whole conversation. Then when the credits happen, you see the Twin Towers there. And it's the fact that 2 people are coming together to talk and they cannot agree on anything. Come home, no. Break bread with me, no. They go their separate ways. The Twin Towers are right there in the middle.
It's very powerful stuff, if I had noticed.
Originally, Spielberg wanted Ben Kingsley, but I can't remember the movie that Ben Kingsley was working on. Couldn't accept the role. And
as Jeffrey Rush's character?
Yeah, I really like Jeffrey Rush. I thought he did a good job. I really like that final scene, that moment. In hindsight, with all the years, it's a powerful moment to end on. I think Spielberg says a lot of great things. I don't think he picks a side personally. I know this book is controversial. I know this movie was controversial. A lot of people are going to have different thoughts on it, but as an American, it affected me. I can't admit. When this came out, it didn't. 15 years later, it really did.
This time around, I get it. I just want to stop watching this now, though. All right, so I guess that about sews her up. We have one recommendation if you're really into Spielberg, you're really into these kind of movies, adult violence stuff.
I really recommend it to everyone. I really think it's an important film to me. I think for the world. It's not just an American thing. Specifically, I know we brought up 9/11 a lot. If you want to think...
So I would say if you enjoy this movie, watch The Battle of Algiers. Leave in the comments how both were. If you don't, I'll sew your damn balls to the walls.